everybody, and we hope you had a happy, happy, happy Thanksgiving. This is the farewell episode of Sipping Tea with MBG on Storm Talk Radio, Storm Talk 365 via the Storm Talk 24/7 network. The interesting thing is that MBG will be back with Sipping Tea with MBG closer to the new year, so stay tuned for that. So you know that anytime MBG is doing something, we have to go out with the bang so we can come back with a flash. And so the bang for this episode is sex and more sex. Now, contrary to what you're thinking, we're going to talk about sex, but we're going to talk about sex as an act, and we're also going to talk about sex as a descriptor. And what that simply means is we're going to talk about sex as it relates to gender identity and sexual identity, but we're also going to talk about sex as an act versus sex as something that's used for intimacy. Sex is something that's used as a symbol of love, and we use that term loosely. But the major components of this episode are we're going to address the biblical principles associated with same-sex attraction and homosexuality, okay? We are going to tackle the concept or the statement, I was born gay. Is it a fact or is it a myth? And we're also going to respond to tolerance or acceptance. And when we talk about these things, we're going to talk about these things based on life experiences or the lack thereof. And with that being stated, this will be a platform for everybody to speak freely and fluently, but with regard to everybody's opinion and also respecting everyone's person and opinion. And with that being stated, I want to say what's up to the crew in the building. How y'all doing out there?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, so wait a minute. We got to do a roll call. Who we got? I know we got the editor in the building. It's the editor in the building.
Always.
And I think we got Mr. Theo in the building. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Hey. And if I'm not mistaken, we have the soft-spoken, the lady behind the scenes, Miss Jamila in the building.
Hey.
And you know, we got to bring him out the woodwork. The confidential informant, Antoine Johnson. What's popping?
What's going on, everybody? Y'all enjoying y'all Monday here?
Yeah, I think we are. It's Saturday to me, but it's Monday to you, so it is what it is. We're going to rock it out. So, first things first, guys. Trigger warning. This show is about homosexuality. We are going to address hermaphroditism. We are going to discuss transsexualism. We're going to talk about abuse. We're going to talk about the bullying of those individuals in the LGBT community. The reality is this. We are not going to bash anyone. This platform is for information and education. It's not for judgment or jury. So, y'all ready to get it going?
Let's do it.
So, first things first, let's get the biblical principles out the way, because we already know that before we address this topic, we have to make sure that we enlighten individuals that we are well aware of what the biblical principles are. Are y'all okay with that?
Yep. Amen.
Okay. So, the first scripture that was presented to me was 1 Timothy 1:8-11. And in this scripture, basically it's saying that the sexually immoral are those who practice homosexuality, right? But you wouldn't hear this portion of that scripture that says for slave traders and liars and perjurers. How many of you have heard that portion of that same verse?
Come on now.
Huh?
Come on now.
Exactly. Crickets. So the second scripture that was brought to my attention was 1 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, 9-11 verses. And in those verses, once again, they talked about the sexually immoral, but they also talked about idolaters, adulterers, thieves, greedy, nor drunkards. So, once again, there is no greater sin, okay? So, we've discussed that. And I know there are more scriptures, but the idea is that we are not trying to force religion or scripture on anybody. Like I said, this is about information and education. So if you are offended because we are addressing the scripture and maybe not in the way that you feel that we should, please, by all means, step back from this conversation because it might not be for you. All right, once again, this is Sipping Tea with MBG, where we inform and educate. We do not judge, cast judgment, or cast people to damnation. So let's talk a little bit about the practical application that deals with the Christian principle. And then, guys, we're going full force into secular conversation about the topic at hand. Is that cool with everybody?
Yep.
All right. So here's the practical application, and this came from a gentleman, a Southern Baptist preacher, and this is what he said. One woman in the church I once attended said, when I'm struggling with a serious problem in my life, the people at church are the last people I would go to with it. I'm more likely to take it to someone at work or some friend not in the church. Why? The fear of being marked, condemned, and ostracized, and being made the subject of gossip. This is the result produced by some well-meaning but misguided Christians who feel their highest duty is to show that they abhor sin and punish the sinner. That is not the right response for people struggling with temptation and sin. It denies those who struggle with temptation help from those who should be its very best source. That's practical application when we apply the Christian principles that deal with the topic at hand, which, if you're just tuning in, we are discussing homosexuality on Sipping Tea with MBG. So now it's time for the platform guest of the hour to join in. And I feel like the first thing we need to do is talk about life stories. From birth to when I decided who I was and decided to let the world know who I was. So, Theo, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Okay, so I was born gay. I've always been gay. I've always had intimate feelings towards the same sex, never towards females. Though I was attracted to females, it was never in a sexual way. I grew up in a very religious household. I was in church 6 days out of 7. But I also knew who I was at a young age. I did a lot of reading. I got a lot of circulars when we went out of town. So unlike some other gay people, I knew that there were gay people somewhere else. I just knew I had to survive being at home, graduate from high school, and then I could go on and be my gay.
Wow. So, oh, my God. So, Theo, what I'm hearing you say is that you were in church day in and day out. Do you feel like anybody ever knew or realized who you were?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was an effeminate young man. I was what you would stereotypically call a gay boy, and it was clear from a very young age.
Ah. Okay. So Theo says he was born gay, and you know, Theo, this is the thing. Many people don't believe that's possible.
Right.
But I hear you saying that at a young age. Now, when you say at a young age, what's the earliest remembrance that you have or the memory that you have of those intimate feelings towards someone of the same sex?
I had a crush in kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah, I still remember his name and everything.
That's interesting. Guys, you listen to Sipping Tea with MBG, and we are grateful to be in the presence of Mr. Theo, who is someone who has been a pillar in the LGBT community for a long time, who is compassionate, who is very knowledgeable, and who will bring fire if he needs to. So, Mr. Theo, thank you so much. So, help us with some of the misconceptions. Like, what are some of the issues that you have about stereotypes against the LGBT community? Talk to us a little bit about that.
There's so many, especially being.
Take some and go with it.
Yeah, so especially being black and gay. A lot of men assume that because you're gay, we want straight men. So, a lot of guys have issues being around gay men because they somehow feel like we have this predatorial thing that we're going to go after them. That's not true.
Okay.
We have our own men. We usually know how to get in contact with our own group of men. Why do we need to stalk out someone who is not into what we're into? It's just ridiculous. So calm down, chill out. We're not after your body. We're people just like everybody else. We take they take the gay thing, and somehow gay changes you to something other than a person.
That is so true. That is so true. I mean, anybody else want to chime in? You know what, Antoine, what are your thoughts about that? Have you ever felt threatened by an individual, a homosexual male?
I mean, I can't say that I felt threatened, because if I said I felt threatened, I felt that I was going to allow something. But I didn't feel threatened. I more so felt annoyed, because it's more so I have to pretty much I'm walking on eggshells to really like, look, dog, look, I ain't into that, without it being offensive. And it's only but so far you're going to take a guy if you just keep doing it repeatedly, and he notices it, and you keep on trying, you keep on saying hello in a different type of way that, I would say to a girl, and that's how we determine it. If I hear you talking to me how I talk to a girl, it's like, okay, what's going on here? So, yeah, I can't say that I was threatened, but it's more so like annoying, like, okay, look, I get it. I can't really do anything to you because, for real, everybody going to say it was a hate crime, and then I'm out back. So
Okay. So, Theo, can you speak to that? Can you speak to, and I think what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is, I don't want to say force, but can you kind of speak to some individuals' approach as it relates to interacting with heterosexual males?
What I would say is, in his situation, it's nothing wrong with telling somebody, yo, and being very clear, yo, I'm not with that. You're making me uncomfortable. If you feel like that person is approaching you in that way. I'm not that type of person, so I can't speak for, everybody. I'm not trying, I'm not hawking guys, so that's not what I'm doing. But I feel like, if you do feel like somebody is coming on to you, say, hey, yo, man, it's the same like if a guy was coming on to a woman and she wasn't interested, and she says, I'm not interested. Yo, you wasting your time. I mean, then after that point, then you have to handle it differently. But my mind goes to, why does it automatically seem if you think that the guy is gay and he's after you, you want to do something physically to him. Let him know that you're not down.
Wow, guys, you're listening to Sipping Tea with MBG. You just heard from Mr. Theo, and Mr. Theo is really shedding some light on the topic. So let me jump in. Adam, what's up? Where's your mind right now?
Geez. I think when it comes to like interacting with straight men, I don't know, like I've always been like kind of the nervous type anyway, so like I don't really talk to many guys, either straight guys or gay guys. So I'm like, but the ones I've talked to, it's just been like, I don't know. I'm not really sure where to go with that. It's yeah, if you're not into it, just say you're not into it. And yeah, there's some guys out there that's gonna be kind of pushing it, whatever. But, there's some straight guys that are out there pushing it too, and it's to girls, whatever. But that's just more of a behavioral thing than just being homosexual, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. So, all right, let's kind of talk about the whole, what does the process of coming out consist of? Like, what does that look like? Like, I mean,
who you at?
How did anybody that can answer this for me, like, when you decide, okay, it's time for me to come out, like, well, I guess, Theo, in your instance, who was that safe person that you could come out to?
Oh, well, and my instance was a dramatic instance. I was actually pushed out through. I was messing around with a guy in my high school. Some people found out and passed it around my high school. So it came to the point at that point whether I was either going to stand up or I was just going to lie again and just say I wasn't. And I just decided to stand up for myself.
Wow. Okay.
And mind you, you have to remember this was 1992.
Wow.
In Whitestone, Virginia, to a religious family. I didn't know any gay people. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I just had to. At that point, I had to be myself. I couldn't hide anymore. And I think, and ultimately, that's what it comes to. You just don't want to hide any longer. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel fair that you have to pretend to be someone else, but no one else is pretending.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And
I would say that my – go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would say that, like, my experience was definitely vastly different, but it did come down to, at some point I just, felt the need that I just couldn't, hide who I was anymore, because it was such a strain on me personally, basically, because it was something that, it ruined, even though people didn't know, it ruined so many relationships that I had, and indirectly, and like even like my own mother, like I when I growing up, I was like pretty close to my mother, but as I kind of came into who I was, and really kind of discovering who I was, it kind of it created a distance between us where I didn't feel comfortable talking to her, because I felt like if I was talking to her, oh no, she was gonna somehow find out, and it was with her and with so many other people.
Okay. Wow. Guys, you're listening to Sipping Tea with MBG, and we are discussing the topic of homosexuality. And we're just, right now, we're having a around the table dinner time conversation, because this thing is real. And just to let you know a little bit of background on this topic, so there are individuals who are homophobic. There are individuals who hate the essence of homosexuality. There are individuals who believe that homosexuality is okay for white people but not okay for black people, because black people are the chosen people. They are the Israelites. And so the Bible is referencing black men when they talk about men not having sex with men. There are individuals who believe that homosexuality is being forced on people. And that's why we're addressing this topic, because for MBG, it's never our intent to offend, but it is our intent and our mission and purpose to bring information and education, thus motivating and inspiring you to become agents of change in your respective communities. Now, what you have to understand is this. Just because you inform and educate individuals on homosexuality, that does not mean you accept, support, or whatever. And I think that, and I'm speaking to, I want to deflect to Jamila, because I think that what's happening is that people feel like it's okay to exclude people based on race, ethnicity, and religion, but now it's just like, oh, you're gay, I hate you. And what I'm finding is that it's not coming from Generation Z, X, and Y. It's coming from those traditionalists, those baby boomers, and, and it's getting to be a bit annoying. So, Jamila, tell me a little bit about your experience in being an ally within the LGBT community.
My experience is I played sports growing up, and so the first relationship that I knew of was, besides my parents, was two of my teammates, and two females, and a lot of my friends identified as lesbian or bisexual. I also had friends that identified using different pronouns. I had friends that identified as he versus she. And so because I was exposed to that so early, I think that it shaped a lot of my outlook growing up. And it made me more accepting and more open and more willing to look through and see what other people are seeing and understand things from a different perspective. And not only with LGBTQ population, with a lot of other things that go on in my life. I'm a lot more accepting. I'm a lot more understanding of various situations. But I was just exposed at a very young age. My parents were very accepting. I just never got the other side of the hate, and I never understood it because I was never taught that way. So that's always just been my experience. And that was in middle school.
Wow, middle school. Okay, so I heard a couple of things. I heard you say that you weren't taught that way. So what I hear you saying is that hatred is taught. And to me, what you're saying is that the only requirement that a person needs to do, have, or be when interacting with someone who identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, whatever, is that you need to remember that they're no different than you. They're simply flesh and bone, as we all are. And I think that this is what we have to continue to educate people on, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to be treated with respect and to live our lives as we so choose to do so. But for some reason, why do you guys feel like there are individuals that are so fearful? Because I don't understand.
Hey, Lily, before that, I want to address something.
Mm-hmm.
Because both Theo and Jamila said something, and they talked about they were kind of exposed to it early. And I want to address that real quick because I don't want people to think that, oh my gosh, they were exposed to it early, that's why they're gay or they're accepting of it, because honestly, I have a completely different experience. I was raised in a very religious home, right in the middle of the Bible Belt. I was sheltered. Honestly, I didn't know till I was probably in middle school, high school, what being gay even was. I had no clue. No clue. Now, I even before then, I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling. I didn't know what was going on. I knew I felt a certain way toward guys that I didn't toward girls. But I just didn't have a word to put with that, or a feeling, or anything to put with that. But it was there.
Wow. So the feeling, what was that feeling?
I don't know. It was like I remember back in, what was it? I want to say it was first grade.
Mhm.
And there was a guy in my class who, I don't know, I instantly kind of just, gravitated toward him. I'm not really sure how to explain that in those terms and that what limited knowledge I knew of that. It was just like I just knew that I wanted to be around him. You know what I mean?
Okay. Wow. So, guys, you are definitely, as always, listening to Sipping Tea with MBG. And you've heard from Adam, the editor, and Antoine, the confidential informant. Amber J is finally in the building. And so we're going to let her chime in on this topic and take it in whichever direction her mind so chooses her to do so.
Hello, everyone. I've heard everybody's stories, and I kind of came in on the tail end of it. But I really had nothing to say at this point. I'm just listening in amazement and awe that it took strength to come out and say who you are and what you believe in who you are in a what I could say backstabbing type of world where other people are afraid to do what you guys have done. And there's still people still afraid because of what y'all have experienced. And if somebody's listening, hopefully they'll get that courage to be like, you know what, I'm tired. I was going to live my life. I'm just going to do me. I know Mama and them going to be mad. I know Grandma and them going to be mad, but I got to live my life. Because you don't want to live with regrets not being who you are and being comfortable with that and being released from the bondage of constantly lying to yourself and others. So that's my 5 cents for right now.
Wow, guys, this thing is real. And the interesting thing is that we all have touched one another in some way. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at this point which way it's going because I think we're all right now battling with ourselves. And when I say this, I mean that we're all struggling with family members who don't like something or some choice that we've made. I think we're also struggling with individuals who aren't being honest about who they are. So let's shift for a minute, and I'm gonna deflect to you, Adam. So, what would you say to somebody that you felt like deep down inside wanted to come out, but they're worried about what people were going to think or say?
I'll tell you what someone told me when I was first, trying to decide whether I wanted to come out or not. And that was that first and foremost, I had to be okay and learn to accept myself for who I was. Because if I can't accept myself for who I was, then how can I expect anyone else?
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. So, Mr. Theo, what about you?
I would be really real with them. You're going to have to be honest with yourself and realize that once you make this decision, that you're going to have to deal with whatever the repercussion is. There are going to be people that are not going to talk to you anymore. There are going to be people that are going to distance themselves. There's going to be people who you thought loved you for who you are They are not going to want to be around you anymore, and you're going to have to accept that.
Wow.
It's not an easy thing to go through. It's not I come out and then, you know, it's rainbows coming out my front door. It's not. So you have to be ready. You have to be ready. And just like he said, you have to be comfortable with yourself. You know, I came out at a young age, so I don't think I completely knew. My journey still was I was still on my journey discovering myself within being in the gay community. But I had to be okay with knowing that I may have to deal with this on my own.
Okay. Wow. Hoo-wee. This is major. This is major stuff, but this is good stuff because where we are is that you see what's going on in the news. And right now we have a political administration that Donald Trump has not outright come out and said anything too crazy, but Mike Pence is knowingly anti-homosexual, right? But my issue with that is that it's going to bring me to a point that I want to make. It seems to me that life experiences has shaped individuals' views of homosexuality for the better or for the worse. And generally when it's for the worse, in my experience from what I'm hearing and learning about people, that they've been in the life. They left the life, so to speak, and now they're hating. What do y'all think about that? Do you think, or do you know anybody that is so, and I hate the term homophobic because I think it sounds so stupid, because if you're homophobic, you're people-ophobic. I mean, that's dumb. But, I mean, talk to me. Tell me, like, do you know people that are so, you know, scared of gay people that they just won't go anywhere, or like they just can't even say gay, can't say homosexual, can't? I mean, what is it? Because I don't understand.
I think for me personally, I think that the biggest misconception is that you might not agree with something, but that doesn't mean that you don't accept the person. Like me, it's just with anything. If you're uncomfortable with something and it's something that you're not known to or something that you don't know anything about, you're uncomfortable to it. So it's not so much hate. It's just that if you don't agree with something, that doesn't mean I don't necessarily accept the person.
Okay.
Because, I mean, just because you might have somebody that you might have a friend that was growing up, they were doing this, that, and the third, but you might not have been doing any of those things, but you knew it was wrong, but you still accepted that person. You didn't agree with what they was doing, but you still accepted them. And I think that's the biggest misconception. Like, I accept the gay community every day. I don't agree with them necessarily, but I'm not having those conversations with them. We having other conversations about the world.
Exactly, because people are people. And I really think that when you remove it, and that's why, you know, we said we're going to get the biblical principles out the way and we're going to turn it up. Because think about it. If you remove biblical principles from the conversation, what argument is there?
And everybody doesn't go by the Bible, so people have to get that out their head.
That's what the confidential informant is all about. Took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you. We continue to tell people, everybody does not believe in God. Everybody does not believe in Jesus Christ. Everybody does not believe in the Holy Triune. So I think that's what annoys me when people start talking about, you know, homosexuality is an abomination and things of that nature. Because what if you're talking to a non-believer? You're wasting your breath, right?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's I don't know. Guys, I don't know. Once again, you're listening to Sip and Tea with MBG. I'm your girl, Lily Mae. We got the whole crew in the building. And this episode is definitely deep, hot, and heavy. And so let's shift a bit, because Theo, you talked about being black and gay and it being something totally different. But Adam, tell me a little bit about what it means to be white and gay.
Oh boy. I don't know. That's a kind of a tough one, honestly. I wish that I could say that just because you're gay that you might be more accepting of, other races or whatever, or religions, but that's not necessarily the case. I mean, honestly, it's weird because some of the most, and it kind of goes back and forth too, because the black community, I mean, that a lot of them are very against homosexuals, while there are many white homosexuals who are against black guys, or they won't date a black guy, they won't date an Asian guy. So I don't know. It's just kind of. So yeah, I wish I could say that that if they were gay, they would be more accepting, but that's not the case.
Wow. Wow, this thing is real. It's real, and it's so interesting to me because I'm not really addressing it, because I think that I've spoken my piece off the record enough to state that we have to work more towards understanding and the knowledge piece. Because what happens is we don't ask questions, we assume shit. And you know what they say about people that assume shit. And the reality is that it's not just with this, it's with anything. Assumptions are made about heterosexual individuals. But what happens is, I think that it's so ugly and so taxing when it comes to homosexual individuals, because people have just demonized people and tried to make it appear that you're not people. And I'm just like, what? Like, why? The whole thing is, and I think, Adam, you said it yesterday, if you cut me and I cut you, what we going to do? We going to bleed red.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, the hardest thing is trying to wrap my mind around, when did it become okay to hate a person based off of their political affiliation, their sexual orientation, their religious affiliation? Because at the end of the day, in my mind, it's all the same thing.
Well, to be honest, if you that's a deep statement, because all that comes from a time period when we wasn't even born, so it was just passed down by generation to generation. So I can't really place the blame on those type of things on our generation right now, because I mean it was kind of forced upon us from years behind. So I don't really place the blame on us for that. You just got to be strong enough to know and get over it, though.
I'm gonna deflect to a conversation that I had when I first joined you ladies, actually. I had a conversation with, I haven't told either of you this, actually. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he's like, so why did you decide to join my Motivational Brown Girls? It's Motivational Brown Girls. Okay, you're white, they're black, you're male, they're female, you're gay, they're heterosexual. And so the only response I had to that really was, you're looking at the differences between us, and I'm looking at the similarities.
Wow. Wow.
All right now.
I would have told them mind their business, but that's just me, though.
But I think, you know what, Adam, I think you had the perfect response. And the reason I say that is because I think another part of this whole issue is that when we're different, we're defensive.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you responded to him, it made him look like a fool. And see, what happened was he's mad now. He's mad because he did not get what he wanted to get from you. And the reason I can say that is because I'm having to deal with that every day of my life because I want to fire. But I'm learning that when I fire, I give people ammunition for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I lose my fire. And the saddest thing is that individual wants to belong to something. And because he can't belong and cannot do what you've done, he wants to deter you. He wants to persecute you. And that's okay. But the joy is in knowing that your strength supersedes all of that. So, kudos to you. Kudos to you. And guys, once again, that's what we got to do. Like, black people have what? Been persecuted forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who are we fighting? We fighting and killing each other. See, my issue with the whole thing is fight for what you need and stop fighting against what you're scared of. And I'm going to say it again. Fight for what you need and stop fighting against what you're scared of. Because what's happening is we are hurting innocent people. And there's some fucked up individuals out there who are sitting back waiting for the next thing that they can persecute somebody for. And it just so happens that right now there is a war on homosexuals. And it's not right.
From my upbringing and the high schools and the colleges I went through, and just the men I was speaking to, I think it's more so of a fear of them having a child that would be gay, and they're just more so they're more so afraid of the things like when you see them like on cartoons and like put more into like shows and stuff like that. They just have a genuine fear that their child might accept that just based off their viewing. So
but let me tell you something. Okay? I'm afraid to have a child that's gay.
Wow.
Because I do not want a child growing up in a world that's going to hate him for who he is.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep.
And I can agree with that because, I mean, just on the outside looking in, it's hard on y'all. It definitely is. Like, if I had to, as a black male and as a gay person, I would say those are two of the hardest roles to have in the world in general. So, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying. So, I don't want, when I speak on things, I'm more so speaking from the people standpoint. Mm-hmm. Me personally, if my son came out gay, my personal belief, my father wasn't around. So my father wasn't around. I was straight. So I could care less if my son came out gay or not. It was my duty when I was born and my dad wasn't around. I was going to take care of my child regardless when that day comes.
Yep.
So to me, that's just how I personally feel about it. But I think it is messed up because if somebody wants to, it's crazy because especially in our community, somebody could be a killer, have a track record and a whole background of it on their police report, and we'll still praise them every day and not even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll praise it. We'll do that same thing with a rapist too. We'll be an NFL player that might got caught up with a rape case, and we'll forget about it as long as he's still scoring touchdowns. So I understand it. It's messed up on both ends.
Wow. You know, and it's interesting. I asked a couple of people, what would you do if your child told you or decided, I want to be gay? Like, what would you do? Because I think a lot of the issue is that a lot of people don't have gay children, or they don't have children at all. So you're speaking based off of emotion. And I've talked to an individual in depth and at length about this whole homosexuality thing and what the real issues are. And you know what's interesting? I cannot get a straight up definitive answer. Nothing is just definitive. Nothing is like I can't get bullet points. I get a book, but after reading that book, I don't have any central theme. And you know, when you're taught in high school and you know, get to that 11th grade English and you start learning about purpose, main idea, theme, you know, plot and all of that, like, you know, you felt like if you got that central idea, shoot, I don't even need to read no more of the book, right? But I feel compelled to continue to figure out what's going on because I'm not getting the answer. I'm not understanding what the real issue is. Why are you so angry? And I ask these questions, guys. These are questions that I've been asking. Why are you so angry?
So the question is that person angry because of what was taught and they're not thinking for themselves? And it goes back to what we always talk or always bring up is critical thinking and thinking for yourself. Is it because whatever's been taught has been beaten in you, so to speak, to where that's law, that's it. Forget how I feel and what I think. It's just from what I've seen, been taught, and that's it.
Very much, and it very well could be. It very, very, very well could be. And I believe so. But you know, how do we combat that, or do we combat it? That's the thing. Do we combat it? Do we really care?
You can't. Because if that person is not willing to step outside of that box and think for themselves and research and all that stuff and actually have those open dialogues to where it may get messy emotionally, then there's no point. You're still talking to a brick wall because they believe what they believe, they think what they're going to think regardless. It's like it's like a person, you know one thing, and then you get to college, so to speak, and then in the college you learn a whole bunch of stuff, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. If the person's not willing to open that mind and have a better understanding, not necessarily agree, but have a better understanding, then you can have that dialogue and get there. But it's along the lines of being closed-minded about race. If you're not open up to have that discussion about race and why certain groups are being attacked versus other groups, and you just dead set on what you've been taught and what's been beat in you, then that's it. There has to be a willingness to learn, to open, to understand on any topic, any subject, whether you agree with it or not. Everybody hollering about peace, 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 humanity, one accord, all this stuff, but people fail to open their minds to get to that peace and that understanding and that oneness and all of that. We quick to say that's what we want, but we don't want to do the work to get there. That's what our problem is. If you want to understand why people do the things they do, or homosexuality, have that discussion. Yes, if it's uneasy for you because you're scared to have that conversation, it's a fear. Because what you've been taught, what you were taught was the fear of. If you're willing to come out of that fear, then you're ready to have that conversation. Until then, you're talking to a brick wall. That's it. It always has to be a willingness to learn anything from anybody.
And you know what? I agree. I think that's very true. I do. I think that's very true.
And I agree with Amber, but at the same time, I'm gonna go back to what I talked to you about before, Lily. It's all right to believe what you believe. It's all right to, if you have a certain set of beliefs, to follow those. Okay, but at the same time, like I've told you, I have a very, very wide group of friends. Okay, I have friends from all walks of life, people I talk to. I have a coworker who is very Catholic, very, very, honestly, very closed-minded. He was very sheltered growing up, but I still consider him a friend. And it's not necessarily about, him believing in what I believe or understanding what I do. What it comes down to simply is just respect. We respect each other. We're willing to have conversation, even though he's not going to bend. He's not going to change his mind about what he believes, and I understand that and I accept that. But we're still having that conversation and we're still talking about it. And at the end of the day, we're walking away still friends, still accepting of one another.
Wow.
Here's my thing. If either one of us had walked down the street and something drastically happened to us, with all our prejudices or whatever we got, what we don't like or who we don't like or whatever, and somebody comes and actually saves our lives and we find out they're gay, whatever, is it really going to matter at that time? Because your life is on the line? Does it matter then?
Nope. But think about it. But it goes back, and guys, it goes back to a conversation that we had amongst the group. Well, some comments that were made amongst the group. There are individuals who will go against anything that a homosexual says or does, and I'm still trying to understand it. I'm still trying to understand it. And like my mom always says, Lil, some things it's not for you to understand. Stop trying to understand.
Well, maybe that person's struggling and don't want to come out. Maybe that's what that is.
But it goes back to what we talked about last week. It's fear.
You're right. I agree with that. I agree with that. And I think Antoine alluded to the fear factor too.
It's fear of the unknown. Anything that we are not sure about, we're scared of. And I think a lot of people, when they approach people that are gay or homosexuality, they're automatically thinking about the mechanisms of sex. What we're doing to each other in bed. They're automatically thinking that, and they're grossed out by the idea of what we're doing in bed, which has nothing to do with you.
Wow.
That's
but
very true.
Something? You know something, Mr. Theo? Many people acknowledge that. Many people acknowledge the very essence of what you just said. Believe it or not, many people acknowledge it. But once again, the Lily Mae says, but what does that have to do with anything? I'm still not understanding what the fear is.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with you. Yeah.
Wow.
And I think for me, my life has been I'm not fighting for acceptance, because in my mind, if I say I'm fighting for acceptance, there's something wrong with me or different from me from everyone else that needs to be accepted. I'm just looking for understanding. Realize that I'm a person like you're a person. I'm a man. I'm black. I'm all of these things. I feel like you feel. I fall in love like you fall in love. I fall out of love. I lose people. I have death. I'm sad. I'm happy. I get jobs. I lose jobs. All the same experiences that you're having, I'm having at the same time. What I do when I close my bedroom door is none of your business unless you want to come in there.
What I need from me you is understand. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I felt it. Yes! Guys, you listen to Sipping Tea with MBG. Mr. Theo just dropped the mic on understanding. Thank you. Yo, you know what? I don't care. I don't care what anybody else has to say. This is real.
Lord.
This is real. Oh, my God. Yo.
Ooh, that's
do y'all understand what he just said? Do y'all really understand what he just said? He said, fuck your acceptance, fuck your tolerance, fuck you. Just understand what the hell I'm doing. And I understand what the hell you doing. I don't give a damn what you doing, but I understand, and I'm going to keep my hands off of it. And my mouth, too. But do y'all realize that if all of us would keep our mouth off of people's shit, that a whole lot of shit wouldn't get started, a whole lot of relationships wouldn't be ruined, a whole lot of friendships wouldn't be over, a whole lot of families wouldn't be broken up, a whole lot of mothers and kids wouldn't be fucked up, a whole lot of siblings wouldn't be fucked up, a whole lot of churches wouldn't be fucked up, a whole lot of companies wouldn't be fucked up, the United States of America wouldn't be fucked up. Connor, if you hear me.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey!
I'm tired. And y'all know I got a big fucking mouth. But what I have learned is that some shit I don't have nothing to do with. I don't need to damn talk about it. It's over. It's somebody else's problem and I'm not fucking with it. And I'm sorry. Y'all know I normally don't cuss like this, but I'm mad as hell. Because we have too many people pretending to want to help and pretending to love, but you can't love everybody when you hating people for their decisions.
Exactly.
Now, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I say it all the time. And y'all know me. I'm an open freaking book. Like, I always use life experiences and try to use a great level of transparency to let people know, look, I'm not just telling you shit to tell you. I'm telling you shit I done dealt with. And I'm going to tell you, like, I tell my brother this all the time, and I told his sister-in-law no earlier than a week ago that, look, I love my brother. No, I don't like all the decisions he made. No, he doesn't like the decisions I've made, but guess what? It ain't shit I can do about it. So what do I do? Because I don't like what you do, I hate you? No. I'm going to speak my piece only because you are attached to me, and I'm going to keep it moving. But if you weren't attached to me, I ain't got shit to do with what you got going on. And I really feel like unless you are in the soul-saving business, I think we need to start stepping back and working on self and leave other folks shit alone. Jamila, you got any final words or thoughts?
No, not really.
Wow. You know what? Just briefly, have you had any experiences with children? I know, you are working in a specific environment. And so have you had any experiences with talking with children about sexuality or things of that nature?
Yes, quite frequently. I have a lot of, and I work elementary side, and I have had students approach me, and they'll say, Miss J, I have to ask you a question, and that's when I know it's probably going to be something that's not all the way appropriate for school. But I have had conversations, and I've also had those conversations with staff. I remember last year I had a staff walk up to me, and we had a student that was transgendered. She was in the process of transitioning while she was at a different school, And the staff walked up to me and said, I just don't get it. And I cut him off and said, I'm going to stop you right there. I think you're walking up to the wrong person. And I think whatever is about to come out of your mouth is going to be very inappropriate. It's going to be something that you shouldn't say in a position that you're in within the type of school that you're in. And you really need to walk away and evaluate what you're getting ready to say and evaluate yourself. He came back to me a few weeks later, and he said he really thought about what I said. He said I was getting ready to judge a child that I'm supposed to be helping and guiding and working with. And I was like, you have no idea the impact of your stares, that they can read, that people are reading your body language and how you respond to them when they come into the school building. And our children go through enough. They shouldn't have to come to school and feel like they can't talk to us and feel like that we're not accepting of who they are regardless, because they deal with that at home. And that staff and that student, we all had a conversation, and while the staff still doesn't understand, he is more tolerable. He doesn't do the same stares. He doesn't make faces. He doesn't. He said he doesn't experience the same emotions, and that's that fear. You know, you get angry at stuff when you don't understand it. But yeah, that's been my experience, and I had a student last year that didn't understand his emotions, and me and him had a conversation. And I told him, well, ultimately, it's about what you want and how you feel. And I've also had several conversations, and these are 4th and 5th graders.
Thank you. That's what I wanted you to highlight.
Yeah, these are.
I wanted you to highlight their age.
And I've had a 3rd grader, you know, and he wasn't really identifying. He was just saying, I really like some of the little boys in the school, and he just said it. And you know, me and him were just sitting there. He just said it, and I said, okay. And he said, well, that's not what my dad said. And he was telling me about what his dad said. And I said, well, you know, you just have to go with what you feel. You know, I always tell you, do what's right for you. You can't worry about what everybody else is saying.
Okay, Jamila, I'm ready to shut up because this is getting too familiar. Y'all, let me just throw this out there. Miss Jamila is definitely a behind-the-scenes type individual, but every time I get an opportunity, we like to pay homage and give credit to those individuals who have behind-the-scenes, flat-out supported MBG. And this young lady is a part of the reason that we have the title Motivational Brown Girls because, we're going to leave it there because, we have some other stuff going on. But, Motivational Brown Girls. So we definitely thank you for chiming in this evening, and thank you so much for the wealth of information, and we'll definitely bring you back as we gauge more about healthy relationships and things of that nature. Mr. Theo, do you have any final thoughts for the evening?
Love each other. We are all people. You can't make it by yourself. Stop worrying about stuff that don't concern you. And like Amber was saying, if you were in the hospital and you needed a kidney and the man in the next room had a healthy kidney, would you ask him first, was he gay? Or would you take that kidney?
Give me that doggone kidney, ain't it?
Right. You're going to take that kidney and keep on trucking. Just respect others. That's what I'm trying. Respect me and I'll respect you.
Wow, that's what's up. All right. Let's start from the order of succession. So, Antoine, give us your final thoughts, baby.
All right, man. My final thoughts for the night is it's really all about I want to speak to the people that really don't understand, because it really is. It was challenging for me to learn how to communicate with the gay community. So I really want to speak to the people that have a hard time with it. At the end of the day, if like Theo said, if you can get past the thought of what they do sexually, it's a whole lot easier. If you could just focus on what they're good at, what you guys have in common, then you'll be fine, because everything that you guys don't have in common, it'll be just like your everyday friends. You guys just don't talk about that stuff because y'all don't have a relatability to that. So I would say just start to focus on, the similarities and how you guys can relate, and not look so much towards what they do sexually.
Hey, that sounds like fire to me. Sounds just like fire to me. Okay. Wow, Adam. You up, baby?
The words you speak, your actions, your body language, it all speaks to those around you. And there are people listening that you don't even know are listening, that are going through things. And your actions and your words and your body language, it affects them, either positively or negatively.
Wow.
And we have so many kids and adults even that are so being hurt by the things that you're doing and saying, that they're even killing themselves. And that's unacceptable. Unacceptable.
So true. So true. Wow. Whoa, boy. So true. So true. Amber J.
In the words of Salt and Pepper, express yourself. Gotta be you and only you, babe. Express yourself. Let me be me.
Wow. Yo, y'all really took it in. Y'all really took it there. So guys, tonight, today, this afternoon, wherever you are, you just heard some real shit on Sippin' Tea with MBG. This is our farewell episode on Storm Talk 365 Network. Once again, we have a lot coming to you. We will check it back in with you towards the new year, and you'll be seeing some things between now and then. But understand that we are all a part of the same body. And if I could leave you with a couple of things, I would say this. The LGBT community wants to be accepted just like everybody else. It's none of our business what others do inside their own bedrooms. Whether you agree with someone's sexual preference, sexual orientation, or not, it doesn't matter, because unless you're trying to be a part of it, it doesn't affect you. And it shouldn't offend you. And if it offends you, then you need to check yourself. This shit is real. And the reality is that suicide rates are at an all-time high. Suicide rates are at an all-time high amongst our youngins, because they are struggling with their identity, whether it's sexual identity or just who they are as young people, living in a world where hatred is rampant on so many levels. So if I could say anything to you, pursue who you are. Pursue what you are. Emulate who you are and stop trying to be somebody else. Because what you do is you make a fool of who you want to be and a fool of who you are. And when a fool looks in the mirror, a fool always sees somebody else. Guys, I'm your girl, Lily Mae. You heard from the confidential informant. You heard from the editor. You heard from Amber J. You heard from Mr. Theo. And you heard from Miss Jamila. Look, we about to be out, but guess what? We will be back, and we coming back just before the New Year's with a bang. So just know 2017 ends for Sipping Tea with MBG right now, but Sipping Tea with MBG will be back before the New Year with more of a flash. We love you, and remember, as always, people, MBG listens, and then we speak.